Everyone pretended not to notice the Vampire King's son crying in the corner. The caregivers walked past him. The nobles ignored him. Even the guards turned their heads. Fear kept them silent. Protocol kept them distant. But Emma had never been good at following rules meant to protect the comfortable while a child suffered. Before we dive into today's story, drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. Are you Team Daylight or Team Midnight? Because trust me, after this story, you might just change your mind about what lives in the shadows. She was nobody, just a human waitress serving blood wine to immortal monsters who barely acknowledged her existence. But when she heard that broken sound, that soft whimper that reminded her of every scared child who'd ever needed someone to care, she made a choice that would change 2 kingdoms forever. She knelt beside the crying prince, pulled a clean napkin from her apron, and gently wiped his tears. The room went silent. Every vampire froze. Because touching a royal vampire without permission wasn't just forbidden. It was treason. It was death. And worse, it was witnessed by the one person no one wanted to anger. King Lucian Nightborn, the most feared vampire in 5 centuries, watched from his throne as this human girl broke every sacred law to comfort his son. And for the first time in 300 years, something shifted in his dead heart. What Emma didn't know was that her compassion had just awakened a power the vampires thought they'd destroyed forever. And King Lucian would do anything to understand why his son stopped crying the moment she touched him. Anything, even if it meant confronting the truth he'd spent centuries running from. Emma's hands ached from carrying heavy trays. The Nighthaven Palace employed exactly 43 human servants. She'd counted. She'd memorized their names, their stories, their dreams of someday earning enough to leave this place. Most wouldn't. The vampire nobility paid well, but they paid in golden chains. The autumn equinox celebration filled the grand ballroom with crystalline laughter and dark whispers. Vampires from every corner of the realm had gathered. Their silk gowns swept across marble floors. Their jewels caught the light of 1,000 candles. They looked beautiful and terrible, like fallen angels who'd learned to love their fall. Emma wove between them, invisible. That was the first rule of service here. Be present but unseen. Fulfill needs before they're spoken. And never, ever draw attention to yourself. More wine, human. A vampire lady didn't look up. She simply thrust her empty goblet toward Emma, like one might gesture to a piece of furniture. Of course, my lady. Emma refilled the goblet with the dark red wine that smelled wrong. Too metallic. Too thick. She tried not to think about what it might contain. The ballroom's ceiling was painted with scenes of the vampire's greatest victory. The War of Separation, they called it. 300 years ago, when vampires and humans had torn apart their fragile peace and rebuilt the world with clear boundaries. Humans served. Vampires ruled. Anyone who forgot faced consequences that legends were made from. Emma's mother had told her stories before she died. Stories of a time before the separation when the 2 races had lived together, worked together, even loved each other. But those stories were fairy tales now. The world had hardened into something colder. Emma. Marcus appeared at her elbow. The head servant looked perpetually exhausted, his gray hair testament to 30 years serving in the palace. Table 12 needs more glasses. And for God's sake, keep your head down tonight. Lord Ravencross is in a mood. When isn't he? When he's fed and happy. Right now he's neither. Marcus squeezed her shoulder, a brief moment of human connection in this cold place. Just stay invisible, girl. 2 more hours and your shift ends. But invisible was about to become impossible. The sound cut through the ballroom chatter like a knife through silk. A child crying. Not loud, not demanding attention. Just soft, broken sobs that spoke of hurt too deep for words. Emma turned her head, searching for the source. There, near the eastern windows, partially hidden by velvet curtains, sat a boy. He couldn't have been more than 7 years old. His hair was dark as midnight, his skin pale as moonlight. He wore a small, formal suit of black and silver, clearly expensive, clearly tailored for royalty. Prince Adrian. She recognized him from the portraits. King Lucian's only son, the heir to the Nightborn throne. And he was crying like his heart was breaking. What shocked Emma more than the tears was the response around him, or rather, the lack of response. A caregiver walked past, her eyes fixed forward, deliberately not seeing. A guard shifted position, turning his back. Noble vampires glanced once, then quickly looked away, their faces carefully blank. They were all pretending he didn't exist. Why isn't anyone helping him? Emma whispered to Marcus. Marcus grabbed her arm, his grip tight with warning. Don't. Emma, I know that look. Don't. He's a child. He's the cursed prince. No one touches him. No one comforts him. King's orders. Marcus's voice dropped to barely a whisper. 3 years ago, the queen died. Something happened to the prince that night. Some kind of dark magic. Since then, anyone who shows him affection, anyone who tries to comfort him when he cries, they vanish within a week. Accidents, illnesses, disappearances. Emma's blood ran cold. The king is killing people for caring about his son? No one knows for sure, but the pattern is clear enough. Stay away from Prince Adrian. The king has made it obvious he wants the boy left alone. Marcus released her arm. Now go. Table 15 needs service. But Emma couldn't move. She watched the little boy sitting alone, tears streaming down his face, surrounded by hundreds of people who refused to see him. What kind of father would do this? What kind of curse could make loving a child dangerous? The prince clutched something in his small hands. A toy soldier, wooden and worn. He held it like a lifeline, while his shoulders shook with silent sobs. Emma had 6 younger siblings back in her village. She'd raised most of them after their mother died. She knew what that kind of crying meant. It wasn't about wanting attention. It was about drowning in loneliness so complete that it felt like dying. Screw it, she muttered. Emma, no. But she was already moving. Her feet carried her across the ballroom floor, while her mind screamed that this was suicide. Everyone who'd shown this child kindness had died. Everyone. She was walking toward her own execution. She didn't care. The prince didn't notice her approach. His face was buried in his hands, trying to muffle his sobs. Up close, she could see he was shaking. Not from cold, from the effort of crying quietly enough that no one would notice. 7 years old, and already trained to suffer in silence. Emma knelt beside him. The marble floor was hard against her knees. She pulled out the clean napkin she always kept in her apron pocket, the one she saved for emergencies. Hey there, she said softly. Prince Adrian's head snapped up. His eyes were red and wet, and such a striking shade of silver they almost glowed. Vampire eyes. But in that moment, they looked achingly human, achingly young. You're not supposed to be here, he whispered. You'll get in trouble. Probably. Emma smiled gently. But right now you're sad, and that seems more important than rules. She offered the napkin. May I? The prince stared at her like she'd spoken in a foreign language. Like kindness was something he'd forgotten existed. Slowly, carefully he nodded. Emma reached out and wiped his tears. Her touch was feather-light, gentle as a mother's. The prince's skin felt cool, but not cold. Human warmth meeting vampire chill. She dabbed at his cheeks, smoothing away the evidence of his pain with careful strokes. There, she said softly. Better. Something happened. Emma felt it before she understood it. A warmth ballooned in her chest, spreading down her arms, flowing into her fingertips. For just a heartbeat, her hands glowed with soft golden light. Not bright, just a whisper of illumination that seemed to wrap around the prince like a blanket. The boy gasped. His tears stopped. The shaking in his shoulders eased. And for the first time since she'd noticed him, he smiled. A tiny, fragile thing, but real. You're warm, he said in wonder. How are you warm? Before Emma could answer, the temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees. The conversations died. The music stopped. Every vampire in the ballroom turned to stare at one thing. The throne at the far end of the hall where King Lucian Nightborn sat, perfectly still, but radiating power like a furnace radiates heat. He stood. The motion was fluid and terrible. He moved like death personified, each step precise and predatory. He crossed the ballroom in seconds, though he never seemed to hurry. Space bent around him, distance meaningless to something that ancient and powerful. Emma couldn't move. She was frozen, kneeling beside the prince, her hand still holding the damp napkin. Every survival instinct screamed at her to run, but her legs wouldn't obey. She could only watch as the Vampire King approached. Up close, he was breathtaking and horrifying in equal measure. He looked maybe 35, though she knew he was over 500 years old. His face could have been carved from marble by a sculptor who worshipped beauty and terror. Black hair swept back from sharp features, pale skin that seemed to glow in the candlelight, and eyes, God's eyes. They were the same silver as his son's, but ancient, endless, like looking into wells that went down to the center of the earth. He stopped 3 feet away. Emma could feel the cold radiating from him, smell something that reminded her of winter storms and old stone. "You touch my son." His voice was quiet, dangerous, the kind of quiet that came before violence. Emma's throat was dust. "Yes, Your Majesty." "Do you know the law?" "Yes." "Then you understand you've committed treason." It wasn't a question. "I understand a child was crying and no one cared." Emma's voice shook, but she held his gaze. If she was going to die, she'd die with dignity. "I understand that whatever law says helping him is wrong. That law is cruel." Gasps rippled through the crowd. No one spoke to the king like that, ever. King Lucian's eyes narrowed. For a long moment, he simply studied her. Emma felt like a book being read, every secret laid bare. Then his gaze shifted to his son. Prince Adrian had stopped crying completely. More than that, he looked different. Less gray, less hollow. Some color had returned to his cheeks. And he was holding Emma's hand like it was the only real thing in the world. "Papa," the prince said quietly. She made it stop hurting. Something flickered across the king's face. Too fast to read, but Emma could have sworn it looked like pain. "Marcus," the king's voice cut across the ballroom. "Take my son to his chambers. Now." The head servant rushed forward, gently separating Adrian's hand from Emma's. The boy looked panicked. "No, please. Don't take her away. She's nice. Papa, please." "Adrian." The king's voice softened imperceptibly. "Go with Marcus. I need to speak with this woman." "You'll hurt her." "No, I give you my word." King Lucian knelt, bringing himself eye level with his son. For just a moment, Emma saw the father beneath the monster. "I promise, Adrian. She'll be safe. But you must go now." The prince looked between them, then nodded reluctantly. Marcus led him away, the boy glancing back every few steps. When they were gone, King Lucian rose and gestured to his guards. "Clear the ballroom. Everyone out. Now." "Your Majesty," Lord Ravencross began. "Out." The single word cracked like thunder. Nobles scattered like leaves in a storm. Within 60 seconds, the vast ballroom stood empty except for Emma and the king. The silence was deafening. King Lucian circled her slowly, a predator assessing prey. "What's your name?" "Emma." "Emma Thorne." "Emma Thorne." He tasted the words. "Do you have family?" 6 siblings in Millbrook Village. "My mother's dead. Father's a farmer. So if you disappear, they'll suffer." It wasn't a threat, just a statement of fact. "They'll survive." Emma lifted her chin. "Do what you're going to do, Your Majesty. I'm not sorry for helping him." "You should be." The king stopped in front of her. 23 people have tried to comfort my son in the last 3 years. 23. All dead within a week. Sickness. Accidents. One simply vanished in the night. Do you know why?" Emma's heart hammered. Marcus said it was a curse. Close. King Lucian's jaw tightened. "My son carries a curse, yes. But not the kind you're thinking. Anyone who shows him genuine affection, anyone whose heart truly cares for him, that person's life force begins to drain. The curse feeds on compassion itself. It was designed that way, by someone who wanted to ensure my son would grow up knowing nothing but isolation. That's monstrous." "Yes." For a moment, the king looked tired, impossibly old. "So I made the choice every parent makes when faced with impossible options. I chose his survival over his happiness. I forbid anyone to touch him, to comfort him, to show him kindness. Because kindness kills, and I will not watch him blame himself for more deaths." Emma's mind reeled. A curse that fed on compassion. No wonder the boy was left to cry alone. His father was trying to protect the people around him by making sure no one cared. But I touched him, she said slowly, and I'm still alive. Exactly. King Lucian leaned closer, his eyes intense. And that's why you're either the most fortunate woman in my kingdom or the most dangerous. Because you touched my cursed son. You showed him genuine kindness. I felt it from across the room. And not only are you still breathing, somehow you made him stop crying. You gave him comfort that didn't drain you dry. He grabbed her wrist, not roughly but firmly. His fingers were ice cold. So before I decide whether you're a miracle or a threat, you're going to tell me everything. Who you are, where you came from, and what the hell you just did to my son. Emma swallowed hard. I don't know what I did. I just felt sorry for him. I just wanted to help. People don't glow gold from sympathy, Miss Thorne. King Lucian released her wrist. That was power. Old power. The kind that shouldn't exist anymore. He turned away, then back, clearly wrestling with something. There's only one group that ever manifested golden light through compassion. Only one order that could heal curses through empathy alone. Who? The Lumina Covenant. Healers who walked between human and vampire worlds before the separation. They could cure diseases with a touch, calm rage with a word, break dark magic through sheer force of caring. His voice grew bitter. My father had them all executed 300 years ago. Burn their temple. Scatter their ashes. Or so he claimed. Emma's hands trembled. I'm not a healer. I'm a waitress from a farming village. Perhaps. Or perhaps their bloodline survived. The king studied her with new intensity. Tell me about your mother. Your grandmother. Any family history of unusual abilities? My grandmother was a midwife. She had a way with difficult births. People said she had blessed hands. Emma's mind raced. My mother could soothe any crying child. I always thought it was just personality, but maybe it was inheritance. King Lucian began pacing. If you carry Lumina blood, even diluted after 3 centuries, it might explain why the curse didn't affect you. Their whole purpose was breaking dark magic through compassion. You didn't just comfort Adrian. You fought the curse without knowing it. So what happens now? Emma asked. You know, I might have some ancient magic. Does that make me more or less likely to disappear mysteriously? A ghost of a smile touched the king's lips. That depends. On what? On whether you're willing to stay. Emma blinked. Stay? In the palace. With Adrian. King Lucian stopped pacing and faced her fully. For 3 years, I watched my son turn gray. Hollow. He stopped playing. Stopped laughing. He cries himself to sleep every night because he thinks no one loves him. Because I had to teach him that being loved means death. His voice cracked just slightly. But you touched him, and he smiled. For the first time in months, my son smiled. So I'm asking you, Emma Thorne, will you stay? Will you be there for him when he needs comfort? Not as his caregiver. That position killed 2 women already. But as something else. Someone who can be kind without dying for it. Emma's mind spun. You're asking me to care for the prince whose curse kills anyone who cares for him. I'm asking you to be what he needs. What we both need. The vulnerability in his voice was shocking. I'm asking you to give my son a chance at something resembling childhood before this curse destroys what's left of his spirit. And in return, I'll protect you, feed you, pay you 10 times what you're making now. Your siblings will never want for anything. And if the curse decides to work on me after all, then we find out why it didn't work immediately. We research. We fight it. King Lucian moved closer. Emma, I haven't begged for anything in 300 years. But I'm begging now. Please, help my son. Emma looked into those ancient silver eyes and saw something she never expected. Desperation. Love. Fear. He was a father terrified of losing his child, wrapped in a monster's skin. She thought of Adrian's small face, his broken tears, the way he'd smiled when she'd shown him simple kindness. I'll stay, she said quietly, but not for money. I'll stay because no child should cry alone, and because maybe, just maybe, we can figure out how to break this curse for good. King Lucian exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I still think your law about not comforting him is cruel. It is cruel. It's also kept him alive. The king gestured toward the door. Gulme, I'll show you to your new quarters. Tomorrow, we begin try to understand what you are and how to use it to save my son. As Emma followed the most feared vampire in the realm through empty corridors, she wondered what she'd just agreed to. She was about to become the primary comfort for a cursed prince, protected by a king who'd built his reign on fear. All because she couldn't walk past a crying child. Her mother would have done the same thing. The thought brought comfort. Maybe this was what she'd been meant for all along. Behind them, in the shadows, something ancient stirred. The curse that fed on compassion felt the golden light and recognized its enemy. The war between darkness and compassion had begun again. And this time, a little boy's life hung in the balance. Emma's new chambers were larger than her entire family cottage. Windows overlooked moonlit gardens. A canopy bed draped in silver silk dominated one wall. Books lined shelves. A writing desk sat near the fireplace. It was beautiful and overwhelming. These were the Queen's rooms, King Lucian said quietly from the doorway. Before she died, they've been empty since. Emma turned. Your Majesty, I can't. You can and you will. Adrian's chambers are through that door. He pointed to a connecting entrance, so you can reach him quickly if he needs you, especially at night. That's when the nightmares are worst. Nightmares. King Lucian's face darkened. The night my wife died, something happened to Adrian. He won't speak about it. Can't speak about it. But since then, he wakes screaming 3 or 4 times a week. And I can't comfort him. Every time I try, I can feel the curse pulling at my life force. Even a father's love is dangerous to him now. The pain in his voice was raw. Emma's heart twisted. What happened that night? I don't know. I was away handling a border dispute. When I returned, my wife was dead and my son was cursed. The only witness was Adrian himself, and he's been silent about it ever since. The king's hands clenched. Someone did this deliberately. Someone who wanted to hurt me by destroying everything I love. And until I find out who, my son suffers. We'll figure out, Emma said with more confidence than she felt. Together, King Lucian studied her for a long moment. You're either very brave or very foolish, Emma Thorne. Probably both. She smiled slightly. When do I meet with Adrian again? Tomorrow morning. For now, rest. You'll need your strength. He turned to leave, then paused. Emma, thank you. I know I've said it already, but truly, thank you for seeing my son when the world looked away. After he left, Emma sat on the bed and tried to process everything. 24 hours ago, she'd been a simple waitress. Now she was living in a dead queen's rooms, tasked with caring for a cursed prince, possibly descended from ancient magical healers. Her life had become a fairy tale, the dark kind, where the princess didn't know if she'd survive to the happy ending. Sleep came fitfully. Emma dreamed of golden light and shadowy figures, of a temple burning and voices screaming. She woke, gasping 3 times before dawn finally broke. A knock at her door announced breakfast. A servant brought pastries and tea, then quickly retreated without making eye contact. News had spread fast. The human who'd touched the cursed prince. Already, she was becoming a ghost story. At precisely 8 o'clock, the connecting door opened. Prince Adrian stood on the threshold, clutching his wooden soldier. He looked smaller in the morning light, more fragile. Hello, he said shyly. Papa said you're going to stay with me now. Emma smiled warmly. That's right. I'm Emma. But you knew that already. You made the hurting stop yesterday. Adrian took one cautious step into her room. Ow, I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to try to do it again. Would you like that? The prince nodded eagerly, then caught himself, his expression shuddering. But you'll die. Everyone who's nice to me dies. I don't want you to die. Hey, Emma knelt down to his level. Look at me, Adrian. I'm still here, still breathing, still perfectly fine. Maybe the curse doesn't work on me. Why not? We're going to find out together. But for now, how about we just spend time together? We can play games, read stories, do whatever makes you happy. Sound good? Adrian's eyes welled up. I can't remember what makes me happy anymore. The admission broke Emma's heart. 7 years old and already hollowed out by isolation. Then we'll figure that out too, one day at a time. She held out her hand. After a moment's hesitation, Adrian placed his small hand in hers. The warmth flowed again. that golden feeling spreading from Emma's heart through her arms. Adrian sighed like someone settling into a warm bath after freezing in snow. It's like sunshine, he whispered. I barely remember sunshine. Vampires can't handle sunlight, right? Not pure sunlight. Dawn and dusk are okay if we're careful, but noon sun would burn us. Adrian looked at their joined hands. But this feels safe, like sunshine that knows we're friends. Emma made a mental note. The golden light felt like sunlight, but didn't harm vampires. Another clue to whatever power she carried. They spent the morning together. Emma read him stories while he sat close to her, soaking in the warmth. They played with his toy soldiers, acting out grand battles where good always triumphed. Slowly, carefully, the prince began to relax. His shoulders lost their permanent hunch. His smile appeared more often. Around noon, King Lucian visited. Adrian ran to his father, but the king held up a hand, stopping him before he could embrace him. Not too close, son. You know the rules. Adrian's face fell. Right? Sorry, Papa. The naked longing on the king's face was painful to witness. A father who couldn't hug his own child. Emma suddenly understood the depths of his desperation. How are you feeling, Emma? King Lucian asked. Perfectly fine. No disinis. No weakness. Whatever this curse does, it's not affecting me at all. Good. The king's relief was palpable. I've sent for someone who might have answers. She should arrive tomorrow. In the meantime, I need you to try something. What? Push the warmth deeper. When you glow gold, don't just let it happen. Try to direct it. See if you can focus it on the curse itself. He gestured to Adrian. The curse manifests as a dark mark on his chest, over his heart. If you can target it specifically, maybe we can understand its structure. Emma nodded slowly. I can try. Adrian, would you mind showing me? The prince hesitated, then unbuttoned the top of his shirt. There over his heart was a black symbol. It looked like a twisted tree with thorny branches spreading outward. The edges pulsed slightly like it was breathing. Does it hurt? Emma asked gently. Sometimes, especially when I feel happy. It gets angry when I'm happy. Adrian's voice was small. That's why I stopped trying to be happy. That's the cruelest thing I've ever heard. Emma placed her hand over the mark, palm flat against his chest. Let's see if we can make it less angry. She closed her eyes and focused. The warmth was there, always present since yesterday. Like a pilot light that never went out. She visualized it growing brighter, flowing down her arm, concentrating in her palm. Golden light bloomed. Adrian gasped. King Lucian moved closer, watching intently. Emma pushed the warmth toward the black mark. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the symbol reacted. The thorny branches writhed, pulling away from the light like living things. Where the golden glow touched, the black faded to gray. It's working, the king breathed. But then the curse struck back. Pain lanced through Emma's arm. She cried out, jerking her hand away. The black mark had darkened to pitch, pulsing angrily. Adrian was panting. Are you okay? Did it hurt you? I'm fine. Emma's arm throbbed, but nothing seemed damaged. The curse definitely doesn't like being challenged, though. No, it wouldn't. King Lucian helped her stand. This confirms what I suspected. Someone crafted this curse specifically. It's not random dark magic. It has purpose, intelligence. It defends itself. So how do we beat something intelligent? We outsmart it, understand it, find its weaknesses. The king's eyes gleamed with determination. And we hope my expert arrives soon with answers. The expert arrived the next evening. Emma was reading to Adrian when a commotion at the palace gates announced the visitor. King Lucian sent for them both. They met in the king's private study, a room Emma had never seen before. It was lined with ancient books and strange artifacts. A skull sat on one shelf, crystal orbs on another. It looked like a wizard's workshop. The woman waiting there was ancient. Not vampire ancient, but human ancient. She had to be at least 90, with skin like aged parchment and eyes sharp as broken glass. She leaned on a twisted staff and regarded Emma with undisguised curiosity. This is her? The old woman asked. Yes. Emma, this is Magistress Celine. She was once a scholar of the Lumina Covenant before they were destroyed. She's the only survivor I could find. King Lucian gestured them to seats. Celine, tell us what you sense. Celine hobbled closer to Emma, peering at her like an interesting specimen. Without warning, she grabbed Emma's hand. The old woman's eyes widened. By the old gods, she carries it, dormant and diluted, but definitely present. Fourth generation, I'd guess. Maybe fifth. Carries what? Emma asked nervously. The gift of Lumina. The ability to transform compassion into healing light. Celine released her hand. Your great-great-grandmother must have been one of us. She probably fled the massacre and hid among humans, never revealing what she was. The gift can skip generations or emerge unexpectedly. So Emma can break the curse? King Lucian leaned forward intently. Maybe. Eventually. Celine sat down heavily. But she's untrained. Raw, like a child with a sword. She might accidentally hurt herself or others. The Lumina gift is powerful, but it requires discipline, understanding, years of training. We don't have years, the king said flatly. The curse is killing my son slowly. Every day, he fades a little more. Then we accelerate her training. It's dangerous, but possible. Celine looked at Emma. Girl, do you understand what I'm offering? I can teach you to channel your gift properly, to recognize the curse's patterns and counter them. But it will hurt. It will drain you. And there's no guarantee you'll be strong enough even with training. Emma thought of Adrian's small face, his quiet suffering, the way he'd smiled when she'd shown him kindness. Teach me, she said firmly. Whatever it takes. The training began immediately. Celine was a harsh taskmaster. She worked Emma for hours each day, teaching her to sense energy flows, recognize dark magic patterns, channel her warmth with precision. Compassion isn't weakness, Celine explained during one session. It's seeing someone else's pain and choosing to share the burden. That choice, that willingness to suffer with someone else, that's where the power comes from. The Lumina gift transforms empathy into tangible energy. Emma practiced on small things first, healing minor cuts on servants, soothing anxiety in stressed workers. Each success made the warmth stronger, more responsive. Each failure left her exhausted and frustrated. But slowly she improved. During this time, Emma's bond with Adrian deepened. She spent every evening with him. They read together, played together. She taught him card games, and he taught her vampire history. Gradually, the hollow look left his eyes. Color returned to his cheeks. He laughed more, played more, became more alive. The curse fought back. Some nights, Adrian woke screaming from nightmares. Emma would rush through the connecting door and hold him, flooding him with warmth until the terror passed. Each time, the black mark on his chest pulsed angrily, but it couldn't stop her completely. King Lucian watched from a distance, clearly torn. Emma saw him linger in doorways, watching his son play, heard him pace his chambers late at night. He was a father starving for connection with his child, separated by dark magic and fear. One evening, 3 weeks into her training, Emma found the king alone in the garden. He stood by a fountain, staring at water that reflected moonlight like scattered diamonds. Your Majesty, she approached carefully. Is everything all right? He laughed today. King Lucian's voice was rough. Adrian, I heard him laughing in the corridors. I can't remember the last time I heard that sound. He's getting better, stronger. Because of you. The king turned to face her. In 3 weeks, you've given him more joy than he's known in 3 years. Do you understand how that makes me feel? Grateful beyond words, and envious of every moment you can give him that I cannot. Emma's heart ached for him. You're his father. He loves you. He loves a man who keeps him at arm's length, who flinches away when he tries to hug me. What kind of father does that make me? Bitterness dripped from every word. The kind who's trying to keep his son alive. Adrian understands that, even if it hurts. Does he? Or does he just think I don't love him enough to risk it? King Lucian ran a hand through his hair. I would trade my immortality, my throne, everything I have to hold him just once without feeling my life drain away. But I can't. And watching you give him what I cannot is the sweetest torture imaginable. Emma stepped closer. Then let me help you too. What if I could buffer the curse? stand between you and its effects, so you could have contact with Adrian? That's insanely dangerous. So, is letting a father and son become strangers? Emma held his gaze. Let me try. Please. After a long moment, the king nodded. Tomorrow, in a controlled setting where Celine can monitor everything. If there's even a chance I could hold my son again, I have to take it. The attempt happened the next afternoon. Adrian sat in a chair, nervous but excited. King Lucian stood 10 feet away, visibly struggling with hope and fear. Emma positioned herself between them, one hand on Adrian's shoulder, preparing to channel her warmth as a shield. Remember, Celine instructed from her position nearby. Various crystals and monitoring tools spread before her. The curse feeds on emotional connection. The stronger the love, the stronger it feeds. A father's love for his son is perhaps the most powerful force there is. You'll be fighting against tremendous pull, Emma. I understand. Emma closed her eyes, finding that pilot light of warmth within her chest. Over weeks of training, it had grown from a candle flame to a steady fire. She pulled on it now, letting it flow through her body, creating a cocoon of golden light around both herself and Adrian. All right, she said softly. Your Majesty, approach slowly. Stop if you feel the drain beginning. King Lucian took one step forward, then another. His eyes never left his son's face. Adrian sat perfectly still, barely breathing, afraid that any movement might break whatever magic was happening. 3 steps. 4. The king's face tightened. I can feel it. The pull. Like hooks in my chest trying to drag something vital out. Push through, Emma urged, intensifying her light. The warmth poured from her in waves now, a golden barrier between curse and king. Sweat beaded on her forehead. Just a little closer. 5 steps. 6. King Lucian was almost within arm's reach now. The curse mark on Adrian's chest began to glow angry red, pulsing rapidly. The boy whimpered, but didn't pull away. Almost there, Emma gasped. The drain was incredible. She felt like she was holding back a river with her bare hands. Just one more. The king's hand touched Adrian's cheek. For 3 heartbeats, nothing happened. Father and son stared at each other, both afraid to breathe. Then slowly, carefully, King Lucian knelt and wrapped his arms around his child. Adrian sobbed and threw his arms around his father's neck. Papa, Papa, I missed you so much. I know, son. I know. I'm here. The king's voice broke. I'm right here. Emma poured everything she had into maintaining the barrier. The curse shrieked. She could feel it, a wordless scream of rage and hunger. It battered against her golden light, trying to reach through to drain the king's life force. But she held firm, gritting her teeth, refusing to let it pass. 30 seconds. A minute. The longest embrace of their lives. Then Emma's legs buckled. I can't hold it. Enough. King Lucian released Adrian and stepped back quickly. The golden light flickered and died. Emma collapsed to her knees, gasping. But it had worked. They'd done it. Father and son had held each other, if only for a minute, without death being the price. Adrian was crying, but they were happy tears. We did it. Papa, did you feel that? It didn't hurt. Thanks to Emma. The king helped her to a chair, his hands gentle. That was extraordinary. Dangerous and reckless, but extraordinary. Worth it, though. Emma managed a weak smile. Did you see his face? I did. King Lucian looked at his son with such raw love that Emma had to look away from the intimacy of it. Thank you. Again. Always thank you. Celine was studying her instruments, frowning. The curse adapted. Did you feel it, girl? At the end there, it started learning your light's frequency, trying to match it so it could slip through. I felt something change. Emma's exhaustion was bone deep. It got harder to hold. That's because this curse is more sophisticated than I initially thought. Celine tapped one crystal that was glowing dark purple. It's not just a passive enchantment. Something actively directs it, feeds it, adjusts its parameters in real time. King Lucian's expression darkened. You mean someone is still actively cursing my son? After 3 years. Either that, or they embedded an intelligence into the curse itself. a fragment of their will that continues their work. Celine gathered her tools. Either way, breaking it won't be as simple as overwhelming it with light. You need to find the source, the anchor point where the curse connects to its creator or their intent. How do we do that? Emma asked. The boy would know. It happened to him. Celine looked at Adrian with clinical assessment. The night he was cursed, he witnessed something, saw something. The memory is locked in his mind, but it's there. You'll need to retrieve it. Adrian had gone very pale. I don't want to remember. It was bad. Really, really bad. I know, sweetheart. Emma moved to sit beside him, taking his hand. But sometimes we have to face bad memories to stop them from hurting us. And I'll be right there with you. You won't be alone. Will it hurt? Probably a little. But less than the curse hurts. And afterward, maybe we can make it stop forever. Emma squeezed his hand gently. You're so brave, Adrian. Braver than anyone I know. Can you be brave one more time? The prince looked at his father. King Lucian nodded, his face tight with worry but determined. Adrian took a shaky breath. Okay, I'll try. They prepared the ritual for 3 days. Celine gathered herbs and crystals, inscribed protective circles, muttered incantations in languages Emma didn't recognize. The old woman worked tirelessly, and for the first time, Emma saw hints of the powerful scholar she must have been before age caught up with her. Memory retrieval is delicate work, Celine explained while grinding silver powder into a bowl. Especially traumatic memories. The mind locks them away for protection. Forcing them open can shatter a person's psyche if done incorrectly. Then why risk it? King Lucian demanded. He'd been pacing for an hour, unable to settle. Because the alternative is watching your son slowly die from a curse you can't break. Pick your poison, your majesty. Celine's bluntness cut through his anxiety. Emma's light can hold the curse at bay, but not forever. It grows stronger each day. Eventually, it will overwhelm her defenses and kill the boy, unless we cut it off at the source. She's right, Emma said quietly. She felt it herself. The curse was learning, adapting. Each time she channeled warmth to Adrian, it pushed back harder. We need to do this soon, while I'm still strong enough to protect him during the process. Adrian had been silent through all the preparations, watching with wide eyes. Now he spoke up, his voice small but steady. I am scared, but I'm more scared of dying slowly. Let's do it. The pride on King Lucian's face was unmistakable. That's my son, brave until the end. Not the end, Emma corrected firmly. The beginning. The beginning of breaking this curse and getting her life back. They performed the ritual at midnight, when the veil between conscious and unconscious was thinnest. Adrian lay on a cushioned dais in the center of Celine's protective circle. Emma knelt beside the prince, both hands resting on his shoulders. Her role was to channel warmth continuously, keeping the curse sedated while they probed his memories. If she faltered even for a moment, the curse would attack, potentially killing Adrian before they could stop it. No pressure, she muttered. Celine began chanting, her staff tapping a rhythm against stone. The air grew heavy, thick. Emma felt reality bending around them, like space itself was holding its breath. Close your eyes, boy, Celine instructed. Think back to that night. The night your mother died. Don't fight the memory. Let it come. Adrian's breathing quickened. I don't want to. I know. Emma flooded him with warmth, a golden tide of comfort and safety. But I'm right here. Feel that? That's me, holding you. You're not alone in this memory. I'm coming with you. You can do that. We're about to find out. Emma closed her own eyes and pushed deeper into her gift than ever before. She dove into the warmth, through it, becoming it. And then she reached for Adrian's mind. The connection snapped into place like a lock clicking open. Suddenly Emma was 7 years old, small and scared, standing in a room she'd never seen before. No, Adrian was 7 years old, and she was experiencing his memory as if it were her own. The chamber was dark, lit only by dying firelight. It was late, past bedtime. Adrian had woken to strange sounds and followed them here, to his mother's private chambers. Queen Isadora sat at her vanity, brushing her long, silver hair. She was beautiful in that otherworldly way vampires possessed, graceful and remote as moonlight. But her reflection in the mirror showed something wrong. Her hand shook. Tears streamed down her face. "Mama," young Adrian pushed open the door. "Why are you crying?" The queen spun around, her face shifting rapidly from grief to fear to forced calm. "Adrian, sweetling, you should be asleep. I heard you crying. Are you sad?" "No, darling. I'm fine." But even as she spoke, more tears fell. The queen couldn't seem to stop them. "Just tired. Go back to bed." But Adrian didn't move. He was 7 and observant and knew when his mother was lying. "Is it because of Papa? Did you fight?" "No. Your father and I. It's complicated, sweet boy." Queen Isadora held out her arms. "Come here. Let me hold you." Adrian ran to her embrace. His mother's arms wrapped around him, tight and desperate. She smelled like roses and something bitter underneath. "Something wrong." "I love you," she whispered into his hair. "I love you so much, my precious child. Remember that. No matter what happens, remember I loved you more than breathing." "Mama, you're scaring me." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." The queen pulled back, cupping his face in her hands. Her eyes were wild with something Adrian didn't understand. Grief? Fear? Determination? "Adrian, listen carefully. You're going to be king someday. You're going to rule this realm. And when you do, I need you to remember something. Power without compassion creates monsters. Your father forgot that. Don't let him teach you to forget it too." "I don't understand." "You will. Someday." She kissed his forehead. "Now go back to—" The door exploded inward. A figure entered. At first, Emma couldn't see them clearly. The memory was fragmenting, Adrian's child mind unable to process everything. But gradually the figure solidified. It was a vampire, male, tall and elegant in dark robes. His face was obscured by shadow, but his voice was smooth as silk over steel. "Isadora, still trying to corrupt the air, I see. Leave us alone, Mordain." The queen pushed Adrian behind her. "This doesn't concern my son. Everything concerns the heir. He is the future of our bloodline, a future you've been trying to poison with human sentiment." The vampire, Mordain, stepped closer, teaching him compassion, encouraging him to see humans as equals. "You've been working against the kingdom's interests for years. I've been trying to save his soul." Queen Isadora's voice rose. "This court is rotting from the inside. We oppress humans, treat them like livestock, and wonder why they hate us. Someone has to break the cycle, and if Lucian won't do it, then Adrian must. The king knows of your treachery." The queen went very still. "Lucian sent you?" "Lord Mordain acts with royal authority," another voice said from the doorway. This one Emma recognized, cold and imperious. Lady Morgana, the head advisor who tried to arrest Emma that first night. Morgana glided into the room, her crimson gown trailing like blood. "Queen Isadora, you are accused of plotting against the crown, of attempting to undermine vampire supremacy through your influence over the heir. How do you plead? Where is my husband?" The queen's voice shook. "If Lucian truly believes this, let him face me himself." "The king is away on your orders," Mordain said with false sympathy. "Convenient, wasn't it? Sending him to handle that border dispute right when you planned to complete your indoctrination of the prince." "That's not, I didn't." The queen's protest died as understanding dawned. "You set this up. You've been planning this. Someone had to act." Morgana's smile was all teeth. "You've made yourself a liability, Isadora. The council agrees. Certain elements of this court require a queen who understands her place. You've forgotten yours." Adrian tried to run to his mother, but invisible force held him frozen. Some kind of paralysis spell. He could only watch, helpless, as Mordain approached the queen. "It doesn't have to be painful," Mordain said almost gently. "Accept your judgment with grace. My son." Queen Isadora's eyes locked on Adrian. "Please, he's innocent. Don't hurt him." "Hurt him? No." Morgana circled them slowly. "We're going to educate him. Ensure he doesn't repeat your mistakes." "What does that mean?" "It means we're going to make certain the prince never develops dangerous attachments." that he never confuses kindness with strength. Morgana nodded to Mordain. Proceed. What happened next shattered the memory into fragments. Pain, screaming, his mother's voice pleading, then choking, then silent. Dark magic filling the room like poison smoke. Mordain chanting words that burned to hear. And then the vampire turned to Adrian. This won't hurt, little prince. You won't remember the pain. Only the lesson. Mordain's hand pressed against Adrian's chest. From this moment forward, love is death. Affection is poison. Anyone who shows you genuine compassion will suffer for it. This is necessary. This is how we prevent you from becoming weak like your mother. Black energy poured from Mordain's palm, burning through cloth and skin, sinking into Adrian's heart. The curse taking root, growing, spreading. Adrian screamed. His mother's body lay crumpled nearby, and he screamed and screamed until the world went dark. Emma tore herself out of the memory, gasping. She was back in the ritual circle, tears streaming down her face, Adrian sobbing in her arms. They killed her, the prince wailed. They killed Mama and then cursed me. I saw it. I saw everything. Mordain and Morgana. King Lucian's voice was death itself. He stood at the edge of the circle, his face transformed by rage into something terrifying. They murder my wife and curse my son, acting with supposed royal authority while I was conveniently absent. They set you up, Emma said, still holding the shaking prince. The border dispute. They arranged it so you'd be away, and I fell for it like a fool. The king's hands clenched so hard his nails drew blood. 3 years. 3 years I've watched my son suffer, thinking it was random dark magic. A curse from some enemy I couldn't identify. But it was my own court, my own advisors. Celine tapped her staff for attention. More importantly, we now know who cast the curse. Mordain is the anchor point. If he created it, he maintains it. Meaning if we kill Mordain, we break the curse, King Lucian finished. His smile was terrible. Perfect. I've been wanting a reason to execute that snake for years. It's not that simple, Celine warned. Mordain is a master curse-right. He'll have contingencies, protections, and if Morgana backed him, she'll have her own forces ready to defend him. Then it's civil war. The king's voice carried absolute certainty. I'll burn half my court if necessary. They murder my wife, torture my son. That debt will be paid in blood. Papa. Adrian lifted his tear-stained face. I don't want more people to die. Mama wouldn't want that. Your mother was too kind for this world. It's what got her killed. King Lucian knelt beside them, careful not to touch Adrian directly, but close enough to be present. But you're right. Mindless slaughter solves nothing. We'll be strategic, surgical. We remove the infection without killing the body. How? Emma asked. By making them come to us. The king stood, his mind clearly racing through possibilities. Mordain has been careful. He maintains a public face of loyalty while working against me in shadows. But if we announce we know about the curse's origin, if we publicly accuse him, he'll have to respond. And when he does, we take him down in front of the entire court. Legal, undeniable, a proper execution for treason. He won't come quietly, Celine pointed out. I'm counting on it. King Lucian's smile turned predatory. Emma, how long would you need to prepare for battle? Battle? Emma's eyes widened. I'm not a warrior. I'm a healer. You're whatever my son needs you to be. And right now, he needs you to help kill the vampire who cursed him. The king's gaze was intense. I've seen your light fight the curse. It hurts the dark magic. Can you weaponize it? Make it aggressive instead of defensive. Emma thought about the golden warmth, how it pushed back against the curse's shadows. Could she turn protection into attack? Maybe. I need Celine's help. And time to practice. You have 3 days. That's how long it will take me to arrange the public tribunal. King Lucian moved toward the door, already planning. Mordain and Morgana think they're safe. Think I don't know what they've done. Time to show them they're wrong. After he left, Emma held Adrian close, both of them still shaking from the revealed memory. The boy's voice was muffled against her shoulder. Emma, if we break the curse, will everything go back to normal? I don't know, sweetie, but it'll be better. You'll be free. You can hug your father without pain. Make friends without fear. Actually live instead of just surviving. Will you stay after the curse is broken? Or will you go back to your family? Emma pulled back to look at him. Where do you want me? Here, with us. Adrian's silver eyes were earnest. You're like the mother I lost, but also like a friend. Like someone who sees me as more than a cursed prince. I don't want you to leave. Emma's heart melted. Then I'll stay. For as long as you need me. Promise. Promise. She hugged him tighter. Now, let's get some rest. We have a curse to break and vampires to defeat. We'll need our strength. The next 3 days passed in a blur of preparation. Celine worked Emma mercilessly, teaching her to channel warmth not as a gentle flow, but as a focused beam, a weapon of light against darkness. The principle is the same, Celine explained during one grueling session. Compassion channeled through becomes power. But instead of diffusing it over a wide area, you concentrate it to a single point, like the difference between a candle and a magnifying glass in sunlight. Emma practiced on targets Celine created, constructs of shadow magic that dissolved when struck with sufficient light. At first, her attempts were weak, barely scorching the darkness. But gradually she improved. Her beams grew brighter, hotter, more focused. By the third day, she could burn through Celine's shadow constructs in seconds. Good, the old woman said grudgingly. Not perfect, but good enough. Remember, Mordain is ancient and powerful. He won't fall easily. But if you can disrupt his control of the curse while the king attacks physically, you might stand a chance. Meanwhile, King Lucian gathered his loyal forces. He met with nobles he trusted, warriors sworn to his direct service, anyone who'd remained clean of Morgana's influence. The conspiracy ran deep. Half the court was involved or complicit, but the other half was loyal and furious when they learned the truth. The queen was beloved, Marcus told Emma privately. Many suspected her death wasn't natural, but no one had proof. Now that the king knows, there will be a reckoning. Blood will flow. On the fourth day, the tribunal convened. The grand hall had been transformed. The usual festival decorations were gone, replaced by austere black banners. Every noble in the realm had been summoned. They filled the chamber, hundreds of vampires in formal dress, all whispering nervously. Emma stood near the throne, Adrian beside her. The prince wore his finest clothes, but more importantly, he wore determination. He'd agreed to testify, to publicly share his memory of that terrible night. It would traumatize him further, but as he'd said, people need to know the truth. Mama deserves justice. King Lucian sat on his throne, but this wasn't the bored monarch Emma had first seen. This was a warrior king, dressed in ceremonial armor of black and silver, his sword across his lap. He looked like ancient stories come alive. Beautiful and terrible and absolutely deadly. Bring in the accused, he commanded. Guards escorted Mordain and Morgana into the hall. Both looked confident, even amused. They clearly thought this was some minor political theater. Your Majesty, Mordain bowed smoothly. You summoned us for tribunal? On what charges? Murder, treason, regicide, curse work with malicious intent, conspiracy against the crown. King Lucian's voice echoed through the silent hall. 3 years ago, you murdered Queen Isadora. You then cursed Prince Adrian to ensure he would never develop the compassion his mother tried to teach him. You did this while I was away, manipulated to the borders by your false intelligence. Morgana laughed. Your Majesty, these are serious accusations. I trust you have proof, not just paranoid speculation. I have an eyewitness. The king gestured to Adrian. My son, who watched you kill his mother and curse him to a living death, who carried that trauma for 3 years because he was too terrified to speak. But he speaks now. Adrian stepped forward, his small hand gripping Emma's tightly. His voice shook but held. I saw you, both of you. Lord Mordain cast the curse. Lady Morgana gave the orders. You said Mama was corrupting me by teaching compassion. You killed her for it. The words of a traumatized child, Mordain dismissed easily. Grief creates false memories. The boy misremembered. Conflated nightmare with reality. Did I also misremember this? Adrian unbuttoned his shirt, showing the black curse mark over his heart. Did I imagine the curse that's been killing me slowly? Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Many nobles had heard rumors of the curse, but never seen it. The proof was undeniable. The prince is cursed, yes. But that doesn't prove we cast it, Morgana said smoothly. Any number of the queen's enemies could have. Show them, King Lucian interrupted. Emma, use your gift. Show the entire court the truth. Emma had been dreading this moment. What Celine taught her was possible, but difficult. She would have to enter Adrian's memory again, then project it outward so everyone could see. It required perfect control and enormous power. But she'd practiced, and more importantly, she believed in Adrian. He deserved to be heard. She placed both hands on the prince's shoulders and closed her eyes. The warmth rose within her, golden and pure. She dove into Adrian's mind, finding the memory of that terrible night. And then, instead of experiencing it herself, she pushed it outward. Golden light exploded from her hands, filling the air above them. The memory took shape, translucent but clear, like watching a ghostly play unfold. The court watched in horrified silence as the scene played out. Queen Isadora pleading for her son. Mordane's brutal murder. Morgana's cold commands. The curse being carved into Adrian's heart while he screamed. When the memory ended, the golden light faded. Emma collapsed to her knees, drained. But it had worked. Every vampire in that hall had witnessed the truth. Impressive theatrics, Mordane said after a moment. But his confidence had cracked. Memories can be falsified. Light shows prove nothing. Then perhaps this will. King Lucian drew his sword. Trial by combat. The old law. You claim innocence. I claim you murder my wife. We settle it with blood. If your hands are clean, the gods will grant you victory. If you're guilty, I'll send you to face their judgment personally. The court erupted in excited whispers. Trial by combat was ancient tradition, rarely invoked but absolutely binding. Mordane couldn't refuse without admitting guilt. Your Majesty, you're overwrought with grief. Morgana stepped forward. Perhaps we should. Perhaps you should shut your lying mouth before I remove your head. King Lucian's voice cracked like a whip. Mordane, do you accept trial by combat? Or do you confess your guilt now and beg for mercy? Mordane's facade finally shattered. His pleasant expression twisted into something ugly. Fine. Kumba. But know this, Lucian. I cursed your son because he was being ruined by human sentiment. Your wife was weak, teaching him to care about cattle. I did what needed to be done to protect the bloodline. And I'd do it again. Then you'll die proudly. The king descended from his throne. Clear the hall. This ends now. The final battle, 32:38:00***. The grand hall emptied except for the combatants and essential witnesses. Mordane stripped off his formal robes, revealing a warrior's build beneath. He was older than King Lucian by centuries, and experience showed in the casual way he summoned dark energy to his hands. I trained your grandfather, Mordane said conversationally while they circled each other. I taught your father. I've survived every political upheaval for the last 1,000 years. Did you really think I don't have contingencies? I think you've gotten comfortable, complacent. King Lucian's sword gleamed in the candlelight. You forgot what made me king. That I earned this throne through blood, not politics. They struck simultaneously. The fight was brutal and beautiful. Sword against dark magic. Speed against experience. King Lucian moved like liquid death, his blade singing through the air. But Mordane was a master of curse work, his hands weaving patterns that sent shadow, tendrils lashing out like whips. Emma watched from the sidelines. Adrian clutched close. She was still weak from projecting the memory, but she held her gift ready. Celine had warned her. When the moment came, she'd know. The curse and its creator were linked. If she could hit Mordane with concentrated light at the right moment, she might sever that connection before he died, preventing any posthumous spite from making the curse permanent. The battle raged for 10 minutes. Both combatants were bleeding. King Lucian had taken a curse blast to his shoulder that left black veins spreading down his arm. Mordane's face was sliced open, his elegant features ruined. "You're slowing," Mordane taunted. "The curse I put on you. In that shoulder wound. It's already working. In 5 minutes, you'll be paralyzed. In 10, dead. Then I'll kill you in 4. The king pressed his attack with renewed ferocity, but Emma saw the truth. Lucian was slowing. The curse was spreading faster than he could fight. If this went on much longer, they'd both die. She caught Celine's eye. The old woman nodded grimly. "Now or never." Emma handed Adrian to Marcus. "Keep him safe, no matter what happens." "Emma, what are you?" But she was already moving. She ran toward the fight, her hands beginning to glow. The warmth rose within her, hotter than ever before. She poured every ounce of strength she had left into it. Every bit of compassion she felt for Adrian. Every ounce of rage at what had been done to him. Every scrap of determination to save this broken family. The golden light exploded from her palms like a miniature sun. "Mordaine!" The vampire turned, startled by her shout. And in that moment of distraction, Emma unleashed everything. The beam of concentrated light struck Mordaine in the chest, right where a heart would be if vampires needed them. The ancient vampire screamed, his dark magic unraveling in the face of purified compassion. The light burned through his defenses, through his flesh, straight to the core of power where he'd anchored the curse. And Emma, feeling that connection, grabbed it. She couldn't explain how. It was pure instinct. But she seized the thread linking Mordaine to Adrian's curse and pulled. Not gently, not carefully. She ripped it out like yanking thorns from flesh. Mordaine's scream intensified. On the other side of the hall, Adrian gasped. The black mark on his chest flared brilliant white, then shattered like glass. The curse broke. King Lucian didn't waste the opening. His sword took Mordaine's head in one clean strike. The ancient vampire's body collapsed, already crumbling to ash. His death was absolute, final, taking with it the curse he'd maintained for 3 years. Emma fell to her knees, completely spent. Every bit of her strength had gone into that final attack. She barely felt King Lucian catching her before she hit the ground. "Easy. I've got you." The king's voice was rough. "Emma, you did it. You broke the curse." "Adrian," she managed to gasp. "I'm here." The prince ran to them, Marcus unable to hold him back. And for the first time in 3 years, Adrian threw himself into his father's arms with no barrier between them. The curse didn't activate. No Daran, no pain, just a father and son holding each other while both wept. "Papa, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all." Adrian sobbed into his father's shoulder. "I know, son. I know." King Lucian buried his face in his child's hair, his body shaking with relief and joy and grief for all the time they'd lost. Emma watched through blurry eyes, feeling warmth that had nothing to do with magic. This was what she'd fought for. This moment of connection finally allowed. A family finally able to love each other without fear. Morgana tried to flee in the chaos. She made it 3 steps before loyal guards seized her. "This isn't over," she snarled. "Half the court supported us. You'll have civil war, Lucian. Everything will burn. Let it," the king said without looking at her. He held his son close, one hand gently stroking Adrian's hair. "Let every corrupt noble who supported you come forward. I'll burn away the rot and rebuild something clean. Something my wife would have been proud of. Something that doesn't require cursing children to maintain power." He finally looked up at Morgana, and his eyes promised death. "Take her to the dungeons. She'll face execution at dawn. Anyone who aided this conspiracy has one chance to confess and face reduced sentencing. Otherwise, they'll share her fate." As guards dragged Morgana away, Celine approached Emma. "You've used too much power too quickly, girl. Your body will need days to recover. Maybe weeks." "Worth it," Emma whispered. "Is the curse completely gone?" "Not just gone. Erased. You didn't just break it. You rewrote the damage it had done. I've never seen anything like it." Celine's wrinkled face held something like awe. "You're stronger than any Lumina healer in recorded history. Raw and untrained, but the sheer power. I don't feel powerful. I feel like I've been hit by a wagon. That's because you turned compassion into a weapon of war. Such transformations have a price. Celine helped her stand, but you saved them. The prince, the king, perhaps the entire realm, because I shudder to think what Morgana would have done if she'd successfully corrupted the air. Over the next few hours, the full extent of the conspiracy unraveled. Dozens of nobles confessed their involvement. Some had simply looked the other way. Others had actively helped murder the queen. King Lucian was merciless with the leaders, but showed surprising mercy to those who'd been coerced or misled. My wife believed in second chances, he told the court as he handed down sentences. She believed people could change, could choose compassion over cruelty. I failed to honor that belief while she lived. I won't fail now that she's gone. Those who genuinely repent will be given opportunities to earn redemption. Those who remain proud of their crimes will feed the headsman's axe. It was a long night. Emma spent most of it in her chambers, too exhausted to move. Adrian stayed with her, refusing to leave her side. They talked quietly while the sounds of justice being served echoed through the palace. What happens now? Adrian asked. After everything's done, now you live. Emma smiled at him. Really live. Make friends. Play in the sun if you want, during dawn and dusk anyway. Be a kid without constantly being afraid. Will you teach me? About being kind without being weak? That's what Mama wanted. Of course. But your father will teach you too. He loved your mother, Adrian. He's been broken without her, but now he has a chance to heal. 3 months passed like pages turning in a storybook. The palace transformed from a place of cold protocol into something warmer. More alive. King Lucian kept his promise. He purged the corrupt elements of his court and began reforming laws that had oppressed humans for centuries. It wasn't easy. There was resistance. 3 noble houses attempted rebellion and were crushed decisively. But slowly, painfully, change took root. Emma became an official member of the royal household, not as a servant, as Adrian's guardian and the king's chief advisor on human affairs. Her title was Ambassador of Compassion, which made her laugh the first time she heard it. It sounds ridiculous, she'd told the king. It sounds exactly right, he'd replied. You showed us that compassion isn't weakness. You literally weaponized caring about others. If that doesn't deserve a formal title, nothing does. Her family visited from Millbrook Village. Her father wept when he saw the finery she lived in now, the respect she commanded. Her siblings explored the palace with wide-eyed wonder, while Adrian showed them his favorite places, delighted to finally have children to play with who didn't fear him. You did good, girl, her father said privately. Your mother would be so proud. You saved a prince and changed a kingdom. I just couldn't walk past a crying child. Emma hugged him tightly. Everything else just sort of happened. Celine remained at the palace, officially retired, but secretly still teaching Emma to refine her gifts. The old woman had found new purpose in training the most powerful Lumina healer to emerge in 3 centuries. You have responsibilities now, Celine lectured during one session. Your gift is rare, precious. There will be others who need healing. Curses to break, darkness to push back. The Lumina Covenant may be gone, but their mission lives on through you. No pressure then, Emma said dryly. Oh, enormous pressure, but you'll manage. You have something most healers never develop, the spine to make hard choices. Healing isn't always gentle, as you proved with Mordain. Emma didn't like thinking about that moment. The memory of burning through Mordain's chest, feeling his life force extinguish under her light, still gave her nightmares. Taking a life, even a guilty one, left scars. But Adrian was free. That made it worth it. The prince flourished in ways that astonished everyone. With the curse broken, his natural personality emerged. He was clever and funny, with his mother's kindness and his father's strategic mind. He made friends among both vampire and human children. He asked endless questions about everything. He laughed freely and often. Most importantly, he could hug his father whenever he wanted. Emma watched them one afternoon in the gardens. Adrian was showing King Lucian a caterpillar he'd found, explaining with great seriousness that it would become a butterfly. The king listened with patient attention, occasionally asking questions that made Adrian beam with pride at being taken seriously. At one point, Adrian threw his arms around his father's neck spontaneously, just because. No special reason except loving him. And Lucian held his son close, his eyes closing in gratitude for this simple gift that had been stolen for so long. "They look happy," Marcus said, appearing beside Emma. The head servant had become a friend over the months, one of the few who'd always been quietly kind. "They do," Emma agreed. "Broken things healing. It's beautiful to watch. You did that. Gave them the chance to heal. I just wiped some tears. Everything else was them choosing to fight for each other." Marcus smiled. "You're too humble, but I suppose that's part of your gift. You genuinely don't see yourself as special. You just see people hurting and can't help but try to ease the pain. Is that so wrong? It's the most right thing in the world. Don't ever change, Emma." That evening, King Lucian requested Emma's presence in his private study. She found him standing by the window, watching the sun set in brilliant oranges and purples. Since the curse broke, he'd developed a fascination with sunsets, so they reminded him of hope. "You asked to see me, Your Majesty?" "Lucian," he corrected gently. "We've been through too much for formality. Please sit." Emma settled into a chair while he poured 2 glasses of wine. Real wine this time, not the blood-infused variety vampires usually drink. "I've been thinking," he began, handing her a glass, "about the future. About Adrian's future specifically. He's thriving. Whatever you're doing, it's working. We're doing. You're as much his parent now as I am." Lucian sat across from her. "He calls you his bonus mother when he thinks I can't hear. Did you know that?" Emma's throat tightened. "He told me I fill the empty space his mother left. I told him that was okay. More than okay. Essential." Lucian stared into his wine. "Isadora would have liked you. She always believed in second chances, in choosing compassion even when it was hard. You embody everything she tried to teach Adrian before she was taken. I wish I could have met her. In a way, you have. Adrian carries her legacy. And now, so do you." Lucian looked up, his silver eyes intense. "Emma, I need to ask you something. And I need you to answer honestly, not out of obligation or fear." "Of course. Do you want to stay? Permanently? Not just as Adrian's guardian, but as part of this family?" He rushed on before she could respond. "I'm not asking for romance. I'm not proposing marriage. I'm barely functional at relationships, even without the complication of you being human and me being vampire. But Adrian needs stability. He needs someone who loves him without reservation. And I need help rebuilding this kingdom into something that honors my wife's memory." "You're asking me to stay," Emma said slowly. "As family. Yes. Officially adopt the role you've already been filling. Bonus mother, as Adrian says. Royal guardian. Whatever title makes sense. But cementing the relationship so everyone knows you're not leaving. That my son has 2 parents who love him, even if the arrangement is unconventional." Emma thought about her village, her father and siblings, the simple life she'd left behind. Then she thought about Adrian's laugh, his hugs, the way he read to her now, proud of his improving skills, the trust in his eyes when he asked her questions about kindness and courage. She thought about watching a broken family slowly stitch itself back together, and knowing she'd been part of that healing. "I'll stay," she said firmly, "for as long as you both need me. However you need me." Relief washed over Lucian's face. "Thank you, truly, but I have conditions." "Name them." "First, my family visits regularly. I won't be cut off from them." "Done. I'll arrange monthly visits and cover all travel expenses." "Second, I want to establish schools. Places where human and vampire children learn together. Start breaking down the barriers early." Lucian nodded thoughtfully. "Ambitious. Necessary. It'll face resistance, but I'll support it." "Third, when Adrian is old enough to choose, he decides his own path. If he wants to be king, wonderful. If he wants something else, he gets that choice. No pressure. No predetermined destiny." "Agreed. My father forced me into roles I hated. I won't do the same to my son." Lucian raised his glass. "Anything else?" "Just one thing. Stop blaming yourself for not seeing the conspiracy sooner. Isadora wouldn't want you carrying that guilt forever. Honor her by being the king she believed you could be, not by torturing yourself over past mistakes. Lucian's hand trembled slightly. That's easier said than done. I know, but I'll remind you as often as needed. That's what family does. Emma clinked her glass against his. To new beginnings, and choosing compassion even when it's hard. To new beginnings, Lucian echoed, and to bonus mothers who see crying princes when everyone else looks away. They drank in comfortable silence as the last light faded from the sky. Final scene, asterisk asterisk. 6 months after the curse broke, the palace held its first integrated celebration. Humans and vampires mingling freely, dancing together, laughing without fear. King Lucian had declared it the Festival of Second Dawn, commemorating both Adrian's freedom and the kingdom's transformation. Emma stood on a balcony overlooking the festivities, taking a quiet moment to herself. So much had changed. The girl who'd been invisible now commanded respect throughout the realm. Her name was spoken with admiration. Children wanted to grow up to be like her. It was overwhelming and humbling and occasionally terrifying. There you are. Adrian found her, as he always did when she tried to hide. He'd grown taller in recent months, his face losing some of its little boy roundness. Papa's about to make a speech. He wants us on stage with him. Us, his family. That's you, me, and him. Adrian took her hand naturally. The gesture still sent warmth through Emma's chest. Come on, you can't hide from your own party. It's not my party. It's everyone's. Celine says you're terrible at accepting credit. She's right. Adrian tugged her toward the stairs. You saved me, Emma. You gave me back my father. You're changing the whole kingdom just by being kind. The least you can do is stand on a stage and let people thank you. When did you get so wise? I have good teachers. He grinned up at her. A bonus mother who shows me compassion matters. And a father who's finally learning the same lesson. Between you two, I might actually turn out okay. Emma laughed and let him lead her through the crowd. People parted respectfully, many nodding or offering quiet thanks. She'd healed several of them over the months. Broken bones, illnesses, one woman's grief that was eating her alive. Word of her gift had spread. King Lucian waited on the central platform. He dressed formally but not ostentatiously. Since Isadora's vindication, he'd adopted simpler styles she would have preferred, honoring her memory in small ways. Ready? He asked when they joined him. Not even slightly, Emma admitted. Good. That means you're paying attention. He stepped forward as the crowd quieted. His voice carried across the hall without needing to shout. Friends, subjects, citizens of all races, thank you for joining us tonight. The crowd erupted in cheers. When silence returned, Lucian continued. 6 months ago, I learned truths that shatter my world. My wife was murdered by traitors. My son was cursed by the same conspiracy. And I nearly lost everything because I was too blind to see the rot in my own court. He paused, letting the weight settle. But I also learned something else. I learned that one person choosing kindness can change everything. That compassion is not weakness, but the strongest force in existence. That sometimes the bravest thing you can do is wipe away a child's tears, even when the whole world tells you to look away. Lucian gestured to Emma. Emma Thorne was nobody, a waitress, a servant beneath notice. But she had something most of us had forgotten, a heart that couldn't ignore suffering. And that heart saved my son, saved me, and is now helping save our entire kingdom. Emma felt her face burning as applause thundered through the hall. Tonight, we celebrate freedom from curses. But more than that, we celebrate the beginning of a new era. One where humans and vampires remember we're stronger together. Where compassion guides our laws. Where no child, vampire or human, has to cry alone. Lucian's voice grew stronger. This won't be easy. Change never is. But we start tonight, together, as one people learning to care for each other again. He raised his glass to second dawns and to the light that drives back darkness. To second dawns, the crowd roared back. As celebration resumed, Adrian leaned against Emma's side. Thank you, he said quietly, for everything. You don't need to thank me, sweetheart. I know, but I want to. He looked up at her with those striking silver eyes. I love you, Emma. You know that, right? And there it was. The simple truth they'd been dancing around for months. Emma pulled him into a hug, her voice thick with emotion. I love you too, Adrian. So much. Good. He squeezed her tightly. Because you're stuck with us now. Papa already had the court mages draw up adoption papers. You're officially part of the royal family. Surprise. Emma pulled back, startled. What? When? Lucian had the grace to look sheepish. I was going to tell you. Eventually. But Adrian wanted to surprise you, and I'm apparently incapable of denying him anything anymore. You adopted me without asking? Technically, we haven't finalized it yet. You still have to sign. But he met her eyes seriously. You're already family in every way that matters. The papers just make it official. Make sure no one can ever separate you from Adrian. Give you legal standing to act on his behalf. I thought you'd want that protection. Emma looked between them. Father and son. Her family now, if she chose to accept. And really, was there any choice? She'd already given them her heart. Might as well make it official. Where do I sign? She asked. Adrian whooped with joy. Lucian's smile was genuine and warm, transforming his usually stern face. And Emma felt something settle in her chest. A sense of rightness. Of being exactly where she belonged. The celebration continued into the early morning hours. Emma danced with Adrian, laughed with friends, accepted gracious thanks from people whose lives she'd touched. At one point, she found herself dancing with King Lucian, who moved with surprising grace. Happy? He asked as they turned across the floor. Terrified, she admitted. But yes, happy. How did this become my life? You wiped away a crying child's tears. Everything else just followed. Lucian spun her gently. The best things always start with simple kindness. Isadora tried to teach me that. I was too stubborn to listen. But you've given me a second chance to get it right. We're getting it right together. All three of us. Yes, together. He smiled. A vampire king, a cursed prince, and a waitress with magic hands. We're either the beginning of a new age or the setup for a very strange fairy tale. Why not both? Emma grinned. I've always liked fairy tales that end with families choosing each other, where love matters more than blood, where kindness defeats darkness. Then let's make sure our story has that ending. Lucian's voice held promise and determination. No matter what comes next, we face it together. Agreed? Agreed. The music swelled. The crowd danced. And for the first time in 3 years, the Nighthaven Palace truly felt alive. Not with fear or protocol, but with genuine joy. With hope. With the kind of magic that came not from spells, but from people choosing to care about each other. Adrian watched his father and Emma from the sidelines, Marcus standing beside him. Do you think they'll ever figure it out? The prince asked. Figure what out, your highness? That they're in love. Not just family love. Actual love. Adrian grinned. I give them 6 months before one of them realizes. Papa's smart about everything except feelings. Marcus chuckled. And if they do realize, then I'll have a real family again. Different from before, but real. And maybe someday, a little brother or sister. Adrian's grin widened. But I'm patient. I learned from the best. Up on the balcony where this had all started 6 months ago, Celine watched the celebration with satisfaction. Her work here was nearly done. Emma had surpassed every expectation. The girl's power was stabilizing, her control improving daily. Soon she wouldn't need an old teacher anymore. But that was all right. Celine had lived long enough to see what she'd thought impossible. A Lumina healer restored to the world. The Covenant's legacy secure. Compassion weaponized against darkness and winning. Thank you, old friend, she whispered to the memory of the first oracle. Your bloodline survived. Your gift continues. The light endures. The wind carried her words away into the night. And somewhere in the spaces between worlds, perhaps Isadora smiled. Her son was free. Her husband was learning. And her kingdom was finally becoming what she dreamed it could be. All because one woman couldn't walk past a crying child. All because compassion, in the end, always wins. And that, beautiful souls, is where we leave them. A family rebuilt from broken pieces. A kingdom learning to choose kindness over cruelty. and a reminder that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is simply care when everyone else looks away. Emma was nobody special, just a waitress with a good heart. But that good heart changed everything. Because compassion is never weak. It's the strongest magic there is. If this story touched you, drop a like and subscribe to Ken Romance Stories. We post new tales every week. Stories about love that breaks curses, kindness that defeats darkness, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Comment below and tell me, have you ever broken the rules to help someone who needed it? What's the bravest act of kindness you've witnessed? I read every comment, and your stories inspire me. Until next time, remember, you might be the Emma someone needs today. Don't walk past the crying child. Don't ignore the suffering soul. Sometimes wiping away tears is the beginning of magic. This is Ken Romance Stories, reminding you that love always wins. Always. See you in the next story.